Let's hello and welcome to Koicast, a podcast about pop culture, comic books, and my enjoyment of most people. This episode is going to be very special because you guys get a non-pop culture centric episode. The last couple weeks we've been talking about the box office, the movie theater. It's been really cool to hear from you guys. You've been more effectively than ever the co-host of this show. We're going to do that again this week. We're going to talk about a little bit of box office, but also I had a very big personal week, which we'll get into, and I think I'm going to pretty much keep those stories to here. So if you're a new Koicast listener, this is exclusive to you. If you're an OG Koicast listener, know that I love you, so you get the personal stuff. And if you just randomly found this podcast, you're like, why do I care about this guy? Hope it turns you into thinking I'm a nicer guy than I am. But first, how is Jake Lloyd Bacon this week?
I'm doing all right. I'm excited. I'm excited to chat. I'm excited to hear your story of your very exciting weekend you had. We've got some nice hotline calls to get into. Yeah, it's going to be a very special episode of Koicast, like one of those old 90s sitcom episodes.
Yeah, I feel like it's a clip show. Like, I feel like it's a very specific kind of...
Well, we've got... It's also, I feel like it's going to be a big, like, introspectively personal episode because we've got interpersonal relationships. Yesterday, as of time of recording, was Father's Day. Which you and I both have very interesting relationships with. Also, I know for a fact we're going to talk a little bit about today because I screened the phone calls today. I know that we're going to talk.
And see, I don't. So
we're going to talk
a
little bit about sort of the way that we both personally deal with all of our shit. So it's going to be it's going to be a fun one.
You know, we're turning into like one of those podcasts.
Well, let's start right off of the bat with the big one. Let's not bury the lead. We're gonna the headlines are the headlines for a reason. Congratulations, my fellow fiance. That's right. Koi and I are engaged. We did it, just like everyone assumed we would. We're sorry to the women we've name dropped in the past. It's over. We love each other and we're here to admit it. No, we're both fiancés, separately in this case, unfortunately. You know, he wouldn't have me. He moved across the country to escape. But I proposed to my girlfriend yesterday, and it was one of the most surreal experiences of my life because I don't get nervous, and I didn't get nervous, but I had an out-of-body adrenaline rush of, I'm so happy, I feel insane. Like, I felt mania that felt like it was on rails. Like, I felt like I was one inhale away from losing my mind in the most positive way, and it was such a surreal moment. Can I tell you?
This is what it is.
I had the exact same experience. And you did yours in front of people, and I did not. Alexandra has told me many times how she's just, like, not a fan of, like, the public proposal-y things. So, like, I did ours in the woods by myself, and I still had all the same feelings.
I split the difference because I would have done this at, like, a Harry Styles concert. You know, I would have wanted this on a Jumbotron. Like, I'm such a look at me, give me love, I need it. But I know that about myself. Like, it really is my vice. Like, if a koi falls in the woods and no one's there to hear it, not only do I die, but I die sad that no one saw it. Like, I very much need it. And so what I did was she wanted it to be private, I could tell. Like, I know her, and she would want that by any means. And she'd also been starting to lay some groundwork of hints. Like, she had a vision board that had, a ring on it. And I was like, well, that feels, like it might pertain to me.
That's really
and also, we'd started to talk more seriously. So I didn't feel like this was out of left field. Like, I would never want to be someone. It's two people's decision. So I would never want to be someone where two people are making a decision and one of them makes it for them both. That's not cool. So I felt like it was already something she would be excited for, but I knew that she'd want it private. So what I did was we both love the beach in our own ways. She loves walking the beach at night. I love the insanity of Venice, California for the skate culture, the impending violence, and the, like, insane, like, carny folk. Like, I love people watching. So, like, that's not a safe place to do it, but you know what is safe? The canals of Venice are beautiful, and she and I met in Rome, so I thought it'd be kind of cheeky tying Venice to Rome, a little bit of, like,
that's
nod.
Cute. Yeah. Like, we couldn't do it in Venice.
Yeah,
So we're doing it in Venice,
ours.
California. Yeah.
And I didn't do it like at the skate bowl. I did it like where it's beautiful and quiet.
It would have been funny if you did it at Muscle Beach. I'm not going to lie.
I just go into Muscle Beach, flex, drop to a knee. But I also thought the canals were really private, but still, not completely alone. And it was really special because only like 4 or 5 strangers saw it, and they were so like gushing and beautiful. So I got that moment of like, the number one reason I love celebrity is the ability to make someone's day in a moment. I think that's what's really unique about people that get famous is you're sitting at a restaurant and you see someone from a movie, you're like, oh my God, whether you like them or not, there's a rush. And I think weddings and proposals are this universal, like you're seeing love. If you walk by a proposal, that makes your day.
Right.
But I did not want to do it at the beach and make Anye's not day. So I wasn't about to make hundreds of people's days at the cost of my future marriage. But I thought it was really special to get a glimpse of that. Like I got a moment of it without sacrificing her once. But what I also did was I planned it over the course of many weeks. I went to Venice. I scouted which bridge. I found out what the lighting was going to be like. I adjusted for the sunset. I tried to get what buildings were going to block the sun so we could light us both well. We are diametrically opposed in color palette, so it's hard to light us. So as the whitest boy on the planet and like what background would suit us both, like I thought of all this stuff in advance because I had 4 very close friends there hiding in bushes. I had my friend Jasmine, who's a very good photographer. She took the pictures I posted, literally dressed incognito with broy reflective sunglasses, a COVID mask, and a hoodie on, looking like she was like a sketchy broy like Venice.
I like the alternate version of this not going well, where she thinks that you guys are getting jumped and just starts attacking these people because it's like people in masks just start coming out of bushes and she starts throwing hands. You're like, no, wait.
We love these people.
I mean, this is literally sounds like something out of Always Sunny.
That's I started with Jasmine because Jasmine was the most sane of the outfits. My buddy Greg Alba of The Real Rejects, I asked him if he could video this from afar, hiding in a bush near Jasmine. 1 photo, 1 video. So I would have, like, for me, I don't want to make that video public. That's for me, but I wanted it for me because I wasn't getting a public thing. Like, Coy wants that video. So Greg agreed. Yeah, like, you need it. And so Greg agreed to video it, but then realized where I was doing it. He's like, wait, dude. Let me film it on my phone and I'll just act like someone filming the proposal. Like because like people would film, like that's normal.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, she knows you very well. Like you cannot be close enough. And he's like, let me buy.
He's also not like a small guy who blends into a crowd.
No, it's like he's very like me, a big personality, a big person. Greg has a beard.
Oh, did you hear that? Did you hear that, you guys? Coy thinks he's a big person. Oh.
I'm a big person.
Just a little guy. Just a little guy. He thinks he's people.
Guys, I'm big. But Greg, who has a beard, bought a fake beard, and I was filming with him. He's like, dude, I'm gonna get a beard. I'm like, dude, you have a beard. Greg shows up in this. Dude, it's a cartoon. He looked like looked like a prospector.
Amazing.
But he had this giant beard, wore sunglasses and the cap. He went Marvel disguise, and then also developed an entire character. Had a pot belly, had a limp. I didn't recognize him. He was filming afar. Walked up and by me, and I only noticed it was him because I knew that's when he would come by. If I didn't know he was going to be there, he would have tricked me. He limped by, turned around and filmed. So we have a close-up video of limping old man Greg Alba.
I love that.
And
he's like, you asked for the simple thing, and he's like, no. Like, I've been watching Johnny Knoxville for 20 years. I got an idea.
He was Dana Carvey. What's his name? The other Wayne's World.
Dana Carvey.
He was Dana Carvey in The Master of Disguise. Yeah. Like, he developed a character.
Turtle.
So he got that. And then Turtle was happening. And then my buddies, Jonah and Laura, she's a professional mixologist. She made Anye's favorite drink, but customized it for the day. So she was there with, like, this really special champagne with a strawberry margarita mixed in, like this really cool, effervescent, sparkly drink. She dressed in all black with a hat so she could hide, but with bright pink shoes to match the drink that she hid in a bush. And then Jonah dressed like basically he was investing in Jurassic Park. Like he dressed like he wore all white, a white hat, but then had a cane for no reason.
Amazing.
So my friends all decided to make this like a Halloween event, but I didn't recognize them. Like it worked. I didn't see them.
Yeah. Well, in fairness
so
too,
special.
you like you said, you're having that moment too. So like, similar thing sort of happened to me where it was like, I don't know. I don't remember if I told the story on the podcast, but like everything that could have gone wrong went wrong with like the way that I intended.
I know this
it to
story,
go.
but I don't think we've told it.
Yeah. And so in my head, I'm just thinking like, well, fuck it. I'm committed. Like, it was like head down, power through. Let's get this done. Let's do this together.
We've gone too far.
But it's just one of those things where, so I literally set a camera up on the tripod as if we were just taking a photo together, which is a thing that, it's not entirely rare, but but she didn't know that I hit record and it was videoing, not taking it. You know what I mean? Like I have my big DSLR that I brought. And so it was the same thing though, where it was like in the moment I'm realizing, oh shit, like I set it up so that it would look nice for camera when I was setting up for a photo in which the sun is sort of like behind us at a 3/4 angle, and it's like we have a nice rim light and there's enough light on front and you could see the road and the trees behind. But then when she turns and looks to me, she's just eyes right to the sun. I mean, right to literally, I proposed to a human being doing this. Like I know this isn't it's an audio only podcast, but like she's creating a baseball hat,
double hand, hat.
with both of her hands to try to, and she's doing this. I proposed to Knuckles essentially, but
I love your hand so much.
But it was one of those things where it's like I had no forethought of any of this would happen, because it's just like you didn't have any forethought that like, oh, these are the people that I knew would be dressed up. You're in the zone. You're in the zone.
Dude, the horse blinders that happened in the moment too. Like that was such a, so not to get too personal, but we also, I made it a day, and I don't think she'd mind me sharing, but we did like a full day at the beach, and it was really cool because like we rode bikes
beforehand.
For hours. We almost, beforehand. Right. Basically what I did was, I know some of her favorite things, and there's also a restaurant. We literally met at a restaurant in Rome, across from the Pantheon.
Right.
Like an Italian sandwich place in Rome is where we met, which is insane. We're from 20 minutes apart in LA.
Right.
So we met at the sandwich place, and we were on our 6th month, and we walked through Venice because, again, we thought it was cheeky even on our 6th month to go to Venice.
Right.
And so we saw this line, and we were like, well, that's crazy. It was wrapped around the block. We followed the line. We didn't know that sandwich place had a location in America. We accidentally found the sandwich place we met at in Venice.
That's
like
fun. So, like, it's like
surreal.
An international chain, really?
It is now. There's 7 of them, and one of them is in Venice because they think it's funny too.
I was gonna say, is it specifically like, well, we got to do the one in Venice, LA?
They literally they have a Venice because they have one in Rome.
What's the place called? Tout it. Come on, give him some business.
El Antico Veneo. It is delicious.
So if you're listening now, if you're in either Venices.
Yes, ALL_ANTICO It is. So there's a sandwich that is pistachio crumbles, pistachio crema, 3 meats, and bread. It is life-changing.
If I liked pistachio anything, that'd be good to me, but I don't, so it sounds awful.
But maybe it's not for you, but they have other sandwiches.
They have other sandwiches, I'm sure. If you're in either of the Vini, go check it out. Tell them to name it the Jandro.
Because at this point, it's responsible for big moments. So we ate there that day, and that was the last place we ate before the engagement, which was special.
Right.
I actually sat down at that restaurant and ran into the bathroom and hid and mic'd myself up in the bathroom, which felt perfect. Like, that's the place, of course, I would have to do my incognito work. But I also sent my location to everyone that was going to be there, and they sent theirs back. So I started looking at maps and dots of all my friends converging at this location. So it felt so, like, spy-ish, and I was miking up.
It was like 24.
Yeah,
you were like
while
Jack
miking.
Bauer.
It was so special.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, she's sitting outside just thinking I'm acting insanely suspicious.
Yeah.
So I come out,
why
and
is he ignoring me?
Yeah, why is he on his phone so much? I thought it was our day. And then what was funny is she sees the microphone as we're walking there. And I had been describing like 4 surprises, and we'd done 3. So she then starts like talking about, the next surprise, and sees the mic, and I have to I'm like, oh, it's just to talk to Spidey Cat at home. I installed a microphone. Like, I had nothing.
I would have given you a tip here, bud.
What do you got?
You wear a shirt with a pocket. You record on your iPhone. You slide the iPhone in your pocket.
It's exactly what I did. She saw the clip on the inside of my collar.
No, but what I'm saying is like, no. You don't need if it's on your chest.
Oh,
here,
the physical phone.
Yeah.
That's
what I did.
Yeah,
and I put it.
It's a big phone.
I know, but it's just like
for moments. Yeah, it would have I might have gotten away with it too. But yeah, it was a really special, insane moment, and it feels so like cool to have a fiance. Like, I'm just so like, I was so giddy and in love and happy, and that hasn't wavered. Like, that moment, I'm still on that high, and she's working right now and I can't wait to see her. And like, it just feels like this new like level up. Like I feel like I'm in a video game where I got a bigger health bar, you know, like I'm like, I can feel more love.
And so
it's crazy.
Do you already have an idea of when, or is it just like, let's enjoy? Is it like Alexandra and I, where it's like, whenever we can afford it, we'll get back?
No, I actually want to either in a year to year and a half. I either want to have a next summer or next fall wedding, ideally.
Right. Could you not do the next fall just because, you know, I'm joking. What if we get married the same week? We got engaged a year and a half apart, and we get married the same exact week.
We're like, you do yours Friday, me Saturday. But yeah, I basically want to make it around a day that's distant from our birthdays, and she's March and September, so we like either doing it in June or late summer kind of like window.
I mean,
but I
you guys
at
are
this
both
point, I'm just
beach
enjoying.
people. It does seem like a summer wedding makes sense.
Yeah, and it's funny, I wasn't a beach person as much until her, except for my specific niche of beach, but like it's expanded with it being her spot.
You're not a beach person, you're a boardwalk person.
Yeah, I'm a boardwalk person. She's a beach person. So Venice Canals were great.
Yeah.
Dude, it was so special, man.
That's fun.
I'm so happy. Like, it was such a good day.
I'm excited for you. And listen, there's people in Discord who are giving me the credit. So you know I'm so selfish. I'll take all of that.
You did this.
People are like, listen, not for nothing, but this is exactly what Jake said on the podcast. You know, a year ago or however long ago it was when I told you to just stop shitting it off the pot and just move in and be done with it.
I did. And
did all that shit?
We moved in together after a couple months. We got engaged after a year and 2 months. I feel like that's a good timeline of like feeling like an adult decision, but also not like waiting too long. Like I feel very like I knew a couple months in, man. I actually have never been in a situation where I was like, oh, this is movies and songs and poems. Like it does feel different. It's great. So I've been in this high and knowing forever, and it just felt like I was waiting for society to think it was acceptable. And like even society, I was like, should I wait till 2 years? I'm like, I can't. I want to do it now. So I don't know, man. I'd get married tomorrow. Like I'm so happy.
Well, that's awesome. And I told you via text if you could wait a couple months. When I'm back in LA, I'll do all your free engagement photos.
We'll do a whole thing. Dude, I'm just so excited for you to meet her.
Wait. Well, that's fantastic. That's great news.
I'm just like I haven't focused on my my life as much as I have this last year in my adult life. I'm such a workaholic and I'm such a must drive career. It's been really surreal to plan a life event and like selfishly not be worried about career. Like I needed to realize like if your work-life balance is as mine was so bad, I hadn't done something except a birthday for me in like 6 years.
Right.
And that's not healthy. So this has been a really beautiful thing of like, oh, I need my life to be good. And like work has to be second. Like if you're going to live a healthy life, it cannot be 100% of your life.
I've actually created a rating system for all of the things that I attempt, and I can show it to you. Actually, I have it right here.
That's fascinating.
So I keep it on my desk, this little notebook.
Yeah.
And every page, like the first page, it just says,
I like that.
What does it say? Read it to the people.
A better Jake.
Okay. And so every page is just a different week. So this one was made a couple months ago. So like here, if I'll just go back to a random week that has some variety to it. Okay, so I have 7 categories that I feel are the categories that are the most important to me. Okay, and this is the only thing that's not on here is actually like my relationship with Alexandra, because that to me is like I'm not going to
rate it.
It's also just like that is the thing that's the constant. That's the thing that
so you don't need to worry about. That's beautiful, man.
But so the categories are creative output, goal advancement, income, active inspiration, and passive inspiration. So active inspiration is things that will inspire me that I have to participate in. So going to a zoo, going hiking, camping, museums, like things that you actually have to do. That's active inspiration. Yeah. Passive inspiration is like TV, movies, video games.
Something inspired you casually, you weren't seeking it.
Connections, and then physical health, right? Or exercise, however you want to put it, right? And you get there's only 3 numbers you can give yourself: 0, 1, or 2. 0 is don't think I succeeded at all that week. Okay. 1 is I did a little bit, and 2 is I feel like I fulfilled that task for the week. And every single day under physical health just gets a little check mark. And it's as simple as like, hey, did I do something physically healthy that day?
Aware of your
right.
health.
So that, and that creates that rating. And it's like, here's this very specific week of 5/18 to 5/24. And I ended on Fridays because I think it's easier to look back on a week on
Friday.
On Saturday. Yeah, than like mid-weekend. So that's what my weeks are. So like this specific week, the week of 5/18 to 5/24, I don't think I succeed. I creative output, it did not feel like I fulfilled. So I got a 0 on that. I got a 0 on a goal advancement that week. Income, I got a 1 on because clearly I got a job or 2, but I don't think I I didn't bank it
as much as you want to fulfill. Yeah.
Active inspiration, I gave myself a 1, probably because I went to the park for a little while and took some photos, and that's always nice. But I only did it once, and passive inspiration, I got a 2 because I watched a ton of fucking TV. I'm sure. Physical health, I got a 1. I probably did some exercise and got 0 on connections that week. So then the following week, I try to move into separation. So here's the following week, the week of the 25th of May. And, I tried to work on my connections. I succeeded there.
Oh, wow, way better.
And I keep notes on the bottom, of like, that's just that way. Because when I look back, I'm like, what did I fucking do on Tuesday?
Yeah. Why was that a win?
And it's not like a comprehensive journal. It's just a very simple, like at a glance. And I think this is exactly what you're talking about. It's like a way for me to attempt.
Dude,
like
work-life balance, man. That's the biggest thing I've learned in my 30s.
Not just work-life balance, but work-goal balance, because there's a difference.
Right.
Because there's a lot of work that I do that does not aid in my goals.
Does not actually fuel your actual,
yeah.
And the career versus job are big differences.
And that's why I have one called income and not work. Because the reality is that's what matters, is I need to be contributing financially into the household. And so that's why it doesn't say work. And, because sometimes I'll get a 2 for goal advancement, because I feel like I did something that aided in my goals, but didn't make a lot of money. So it doesn't mean I got income, like they're two completely separate.
It's got to be a different,
They're separate categories. But yeah, this is what I've been doing.
I love that. That's cool.
I've been doing for a while. It's been helpful. And I just, get these little tiny notebooks and I fill them out. And like a whole year, one book, if you get like a little 50-page book, that's like a roughly a year.
Yeah, it's every week. I've got a giant version of that because I'm really, really insane. And I have a thing called Clever Fox where it's every single week, it's 2 pages of notes. Every single day, it's a full page and a half.
Yeah.
Every single month, it's the most in-depth journal I've ever had. And I feel like recently restarted it.
That's
more my speed.
But it's also more like personal journaling.
Yeah,
in my opinion, this whole thing was inspired by Martin Short.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, Martin Short talked about how he does something like this on a podcast once, about how he like looks back, and I think his might be monthly. I don't remember, but he looks back, and his is mostly like family, career, and self, or something like that. And
it's still a quick glance to like.
Yeah, and he just goes like, "Shit, this month I failed my family. This month I did great for my personal health."
It's cool because there's a thing monthly where there's a chart like this, and it's got like mental, spiritual, financial. It's got like 7 categories, and you fill in, like color in 0 through 5, and so you literally at a glance see what things you. And so it's that in a way, but you can look at all your notes every day to kind of combine to that. It's really cool. I'll show you. But yeah, that's been my sanity, and it's been really helping with my work.
Is it like a
in my case work?
Is it like a pre-made book that you bought?
Yeah. It's a every 4 months book, so I buy a new one every 4 months.
Like a fill it yourself journal kind of thing. Yeah.
Exactly, because I used to do the Panda Planner, and it was pretty in depth. But then this Clever Fox thing is like 10 of those.
I remember that, and that was too much.
Yeah,
that was too.
Because this is about a 10 times version of that.
See that? I feel like that's just like the problem with that is I feel like for me personally, obviously not with you, do what works for you, but for me, I feel like if it's so complex that I just find I will give myself an excuse to not do it.
That was what I had. So I started this in January, made it halfway through January, and didn't touch it again until May. But when I started focusing on my life, I've been enjoying filling it out May and June because I've been like, oh, I'm not failing at half my life. So I think it's a really good thing to fuel you if you can get started. It's not something that's going to start the boulder, but if the boulder's rolling, it's amazing to accelerate.
That makes sense. But the way I know myself, and I need the idiot-proof stuff for myself, or not idiot-proof. I need the lazy proof. I need to lazy proof it. Because
I need to sit down for 20 minutes to remind myself I don't suck every morning. Like I need to go, okay, let's warm up for the day while we have coffee, 20 minutes of fucking.
I know I suck every morning, which is why I need this system to make it easy to analyze.
Let's take a glance at how I feel at me.
Exactly.
Let's have a passive glance.
All right. Well, speaking about self, do you want to take a hotline call that touches a little bit on self?
Absolutely.
All right.
Hey guys, it's Callum from the UK. First of all, just wanted to say thank you for the podcast. It's great. I really appreciate it. It helps me massively through my commute to work. It's really good to hear your voices and your opinions on all things nerdy, I guess. But my first question really is for producer Jake, and it's: have you checked out the new series of Doctor Who, and what do you think of it? I'm really intrigued. That I know you're a massive Doctor Who fan, just as much as me, probably. What do you think of it? What do you think of the new Doctor and the writing? Because for me personally, the writing has been a little bit off the past few seasons. So, what do you think this season? It looks really good. The storylines look ace. And the companion, I think she looks really good. So yeah, Jake, what are your opinions on Doctor Who? And I hope you've watched it. Also, are there any other BBC shows that you've watched, Jake? That's my question to you. Also, sort of another wider question, maybe for both of you to tackle. How do you both sort of disconnect from the job when you're trying to wind down and you're trying to take a break from all the craziness of the job that you have, which is quite unique, admittedly. I think, the normal person would probably say you've got quite a cool job. So how do you take a break from it? How do you mentally sort of rest from all of the things that you maybe have to focus on when you are working? That's my question to you both. So thank you again for the podcast. And Jake, I'm intrigued. I hope you like the Doctor Who series. See you guys soon. Thank you again.
Callum, haven't heard from him in a while. So nice to hear from him again. I'm gonna let him down here. Do you remember when we? Do you remember when we first started? And we had that one reviewer who was like, Jake doesn't watch anything, and he blames it on his girlfriend because he likes to watch shit with her.
And here we are. Now it's his fiance he blames.
I am so far behind on the Doctor that we're on Jodie Whittaker, like literally. It's not out of a lack of interest. It's just the sort of thing that is, for some reason, tougher to commit to. And it's just
it's a volume.
I blame her, though. I pitch it a lot. Whenever it's like, what do you watch? I'm always like, all right, well, we're in, what shows are we in the middle of? I use that TV tracker that a listener once told us about. I don't remember. I apologize. I don't remember who it was who gave us that tip, but I've been using that ever since, the TVST app. I'll look it up, and it's like that's one of the things we're always in the middle of, and so it's always on the list. This, Doctor Who, this, and it's always something else. So I apologize, but I just I can't give opinion. He was like, "Oh, you like it just as much as me." I used to, and I still feel like I'm a big Who fan, but I'm so far behind. But I feel like a poser now saying it.
It's hard. It's hard when a beloved show goes on without you, and you just can't catch up. It's like watching the kids go off to school. You just got to chase.
Listen. I'm just gonna start watching it without her and lying behind her back. I mean, we've been engaged for a while. We're not like you guys. You guys, you're brand new. You're 12 hours in. I've been engaged for 2 years now. At this point, I can start lying.
You're like, it's the healthy choice. The lying now is the healthy choice.
As far as other BBC stuff, I just got a text message from Alexandra in the other room. How dare you? It's been a while. She hasn't.
That took no time.
Over my dead body. She said, over my dead. It's been a while since we've had a text from the other room because I've changed locations since we've been recording.
I love that this is the first one back and it was immediate.
Yeah. How dare you? Over my dead beau. And then the second text was DY. Die. Anyways,
well played.
About
other
BBC stuff. I don't know whether it's actually like BBC brand, but as far as just British shit, I watched mostly just a ton of, if it's like comedy stuff, anything that has David Mitchell in it, Callum, Mitchell and Webb look, Ambassadors, anything with Johnny Vegas, I will watch. Anything, A Toast of London. Like, I'm not big on British dramas. Like, I don't really do a ton of British dramas, but I just love British comedy so much that that's kind of where my wheelhouse is of British stuff. I know that I talked recently about Big Mood, which I think everybody should check out, which is on Tubi, which is crushing it. Big Mood has an actress whose name is escaping me, but she was on Derry Girls, and she's on Bridgerton as well. It's a fantastic show about mental health. That's one of the best. Nicola Coughlan, thank you, Alexandra, from the other room. Also, Detectorists, which is a show that I just watched the pilot of, and I'm like, well, shit, now I need to watch the rest of this. Dirk Gently. I don't know. I love a lot of British shit. I love all the shit that they failed to remake in America. and also,
I want to give some love to Sherlock though, man. Like, you watch Sherlock, right?
No, I have not. You're talking about the miniseries?
Yeah. I assume.
I still never saw it. The Benedict.
It seems like your total wheelhouse.
I know. It was one of those things where it's been on the list forever and just got away from me. Yeah.
Andrew Scott, man. Andrew Scott is incredible as Moriarty. Like, my favorite Moriarty, and I love Jared Harris, but my favorite Moriarty comfortably. Like, he is sensational.
Right.
Also, Luther. Luther's so good. Idris Elba as what I think a street-level Batman really is.
I have not watched, but I'm familiar with that. Everybody rants and raves about that, too.
It's so cool because to me, it's what, like, Matt Reeves has now given me a street-level Batman, but I was like, what would the most actually street-level Batman be? And it's basically Idris Elba in a trench coat instead of a cape that's an awesome detective with a villain of the week that is some level of psychopathic and intelligent. Like, it feels like someone read a lot of Batman and was like, I should write a detective show. And, like, it's not Batman, but it's enough of an... Like, when you watch My Hero Academia, it's not X-Men, but it's X-Men. It's really cool to watch Luther and feel like Batman.
I never heard that comparison before about My Hero Academia.
Oh, dude, My Hero is the creator said they're...
So I guess is it a school? I just realized the name of it. My Hero Academia. Is it literally a superhero school? Is that what
it's a
is?
school of superheroes.
Never
and it's about people developing powers. Yeah, they develop powers and become like the dominant species. And like
Umbrella
it basically
Academy.
is... Yeah, and it's also the guy who wrote it is inspired by Western comics, he said. So it literally is the Western comic version of an anime. And I'm like, this is X-Men. And like X-Men could learn a thing or two about long form adaptation in this medium because it's great. Because, you know, I'm not an anime guy. It's so good that I'm like, okay, that weird pervy character trope and them falling over fainting, I ignore because 90% is dope.
Right.
But yeah, Callum, as far as your last bit of that, since I'm not as BBC.
Disconnecting.
This kind of tied into what we just said.
How do you disconnect? What do you do to escape?
Well, for 35 years, I was awful at it. I'm turning 36 in a couple months. I've only recently discovered how bad I was at it after ending up in the hospital a number of times. And the doctors being like, you are so stressed, your organs are shutting down. And I was like, do I get to work today or not? Which, like, there was a time I went to the hospital from my eye shutting down because my cortisol was so imbalanced, my organs were failing. And I brought
I'm laughing
an iPad.
at you. I just want you to know that. I have no pity.
I'm not.
Zero
I'm
pity.
not done. I'm not done. I was in there with one eye, and I brought an iPad because I had to do a review for a Jurassic Park movie, and I hadn't seen the newest Jurassic World, and I was watching it with one eye in a hospital bed on my iPad while being told I was overworking. I was like, but I was already assigned. This works so clear. Like, my brain was unable to go like, okay, I will stop now. It was, let me catch up, which is impossible. And also, I'll say no later, which is not going to happen.
Right.
Now, I say no, and it's very hard for me, but the amount of work that the job requires to do fun jobs as work is not an hourly job. It's not a 9 to 5. It's not a clock out. But I am completely aware at the same time, I don't work in a coal mine. I don't work on a train. I'm not an electrician on power lines. So much of my family that I come up through, like my great-grandfather on my mom's side is responsible for a giant amount of the power lines existing on the eastern seaboard. Like the East Coast power lines were largely run by the company that my grandmother's father worked for, and he's responsible for a lot of the climbing up at the time 40 feet of power line and stringing them, and was so jacked that he had to have all of his shirts custom tailored because he was this bear of a man. So I grew up like, that's a job. And then my grandfather, who I'm lucky enough to still have, is a carpenter, electrician, plumber, builds houses from scratch. So I grew up seeing him like cut off 3 fingers, put him in a thing of milk and get him sewn back on and go back to work. I'm aware that what I do is talk about art. And I'm aware that I'm complaining about my 18-hour days talking. But I'm also aware that I am working 18 hours and I'm constantly stressed because I don't unplug. Because when I'm watching something, I'm like, what can I make out of this? How do I make this into my job? How do I enjoy this comic, but also remember enough to regurgitate it and express it and digest it, but also hurry up enough to get to the next stack of 20 comics I have to read? So the answer is I'm learning little tricks every day, but I'm also hitting brick walls about once every 18 months because my body shuts down and goes, didn't learn enough, motherfucker, while also looking at my family and going, I'm a little bitch. They do real work. And there's a lot of people in the world that are firefighters and EMTs that do real work. And I salute them and praise them. Like, they are the foundation of us existing. But what I do doesn't stop, and I don't know how to pause. So ongoing is the answer. Learning is the answer.
That reminds me of there was like a DVD, VHS, whatever the fuck, a special, Pearl Jam special about them recording the album Yield. I don't remember what it's called, but it's something subtitle The Yield Sessions, right? And there's a quote in it that I'm going to paraphrase and butcher, but it's just really funny. It's they're talking to Eddie, and he's just talking about like his life and about like some of the struggles he's had about like dealing with like success and like being an artist. And he says something to the extent of like, there are a lot of times where I think back and I think, man, like being a singer, being an artist, like what a selfish and like what's the word he uses? Like undignified and selfish job. And then he takes a moment and he goes, a fucking idiot. It just makes me laugh every time I think about it. And I'm just
it's that.
Fuck it.
Like,
but
I love it. It's that, like, Hall H is the biggest rush of my life. I've never had a rush like being a Rolling Stone. Like, I looked out on a fucking sea of people. It wasn't a crowd. It was a sea. It was a hall. 6,500 people is incalculable to the human mind. I just felt the energy of it. And like, that was my greatest accomplishment. And I remember doing Hall H, and the moment I like left my body, much like yesterday, actually, I looked down at my hands and I looked out at the crowd and I looked over and fucking Keanu Reeves was looking up at me. And then I looked back out at the crowd and I was like, oh, I think this is happiness.
What is life?
And like, it was a moment where I felt my success in real time. And I'm only bringing it up because it was the first time I have ever felt accomplished in my career. It was the first time where I went in real time, oh, you did this, motherfucker. Like in the moment, not like a year later when you're looking back at you're like, I did okay. It was in the moment. And I think that was so important because it made me realize like I can feel accomplished. Like, I think it's like the first time you ride a bike without training wheels, you're like, I can do this thing. And so it unlocked a sensation in me. Now that when I feel 1/10 of that, I go fucking fan that flame, bitch. Like, feel this shit. Like, embrace this. So I think accomplishing something huge helped me feel a sense of accomplishment that I can look back on as a marker. So when I fail at the video game of life, I have a new save point and I can like wake up like from here. And I'm just trying to like appreciate my victories in life day to day more and not make every victory about my work so that I can stop working at 9 o'clock at night, not 1 a.m. with my laptop on my chest.
Right. Yeah, I'm in obviously a different position because I'm not as like this podcast is as much you as I get. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't I'm not a pundit for things. I don't like, this is just the extent of me like sharing my love of art and stuff. It's not my career. But it doesn't mean that like because working in the industry is the end game and it's something that does consume the vast majority of my thought process. Like I do sometimes you and I watch stuff and have a similar problem, but for completely different reasons. You watch it and you go, oh, I need to retain this. I need to figure out how to like talk about this later. Do I have an interesting take? Do I have an opinion? Is this affecting me? Blah, blah. And I'm watching it and I'm going like, how can I make this better? Why does this work? Why doesn't this work? How did they get that shot? Who directed this? And why is this a choice they made? Why did that actor make that choice? And I'm just like, so we both have a hard time
analyzing it from another angle. Yeah,
completely different things. But yeah, I don't know, the way that I attempt to kind of disconnect and I guess unwind is sort of what I was talking about in my little weekly judging thing. That's what active inspiration, that's that category. It's like things that I have to partake in. So for me, it is very much like, photozoology, like my little like photography hobby of like, going to the zoo or going to parks. Like for me, it's kind of connecting with outdoors. I feel like the best way to connect with the best way to connect with all of humanity is to disconnect from humanity, if that makes sense. Because because like going to a place that isn't the core of a major city, while I prefer the core of the major cities to like, the small towns. I also understand that like when you're out in the middle of nowhere, like that's the same experience that we've had for all of humanity. And so like that kind of helps me like kind of refocus and connect. But also I kind of go through like, my brand of depression is like never uniform. It's always like there's a new thing. Right now, I'll tell you right now what I'm doing. Right now, because I feel so disconnected from my life, I feel like Alexandra and I are in this holding pattern while we have began our plan. And I could tell the listeners, like, we're going to be heading back to LA in September with a pit stop in Texas for a short while. So we'll be broadcasting from Texas for a little bit here in a couple weeks. I feel very disconnected. I feel very isolated. I feel like I'm not seeing my friends. I'm not talking to my friends. It's funny because Alexandra caught me a couple weeks ago, or was just like not caught me, but like, so I'm here with my cousins. I'm trying to figure out the best way to tell the story. Here with not my cousins, my nephews, and in an attempt to make any connection with them, because it was one of the free PlayStation monthly games, I downloaded like FIFA. It's not FIFA anymore. It's called FC 24, right? Thinking like, oh, maybe I'll play a soccer game. They couldn't give two shits about playing with me. But as I was playing that game, it reminded me that I do like playing sports games. But the thing that I like doing is I like creating teams. I like the fantasy element of it, right? And the last time I had played a hockey game, which is my favorite kind of sports games, was 10 years ago, maybe more than that.
Wow.
So I was like, you know what? This football game sucks. Meaning, football, the rest of the world football, soccer game sucks. The creation suite is terrible. You can't really control. You can't play. Like it sucks. I was like, what's a new NHL game? Like, let me see how much. And it was on sale for $20, NHL 24. So I downloaded NHL 24. The first thing I did was go to the creative suite. I created a custom team. You could create the branding, the jerseys, the name, the logo. I literally create everything. And then I was like, well, let me fill the team out. And I did not realize that at the time this is a coping mechanism, but I created an entirely fictional team of all of my friends. Like everybody, you're on it. You're my third line right winger. You're on a line with Tybee Diskin at center.
Yes.
And Jake Brown on left wing. Listen, your locker room chemistry is pretty good right now.
I appreciate that. I just saw her 2 days ago, by the way. So we're doing great on the team.
Living her life. It is a bummer that Jandro isn't in the name for the play-by-play calls. So I had to give you Gaudreau, which sounds like that. It's actual hockey player. Your current morale is amazing.
Close.
Your latest quote is, "I currently have no concerns." You have good locker room chemistry with some other people. You're doing all right. But yeah, so I mean, literally I've created, it's like all of my friends and family are on a hockey team, and I've just been playing hockey with them in like franchise mode, playing through a season, chasing the Stanley Cup. I should say I've also, the other part that inspired it was like I always get hockey fever around the playoffs. I don't talk a lot about my love of hockey on the podcast, but fucking love hockey. I always love hockey. I'm pissed that the Rangers didn't make it to the fucking Stanley Cup finals, but Florida's an evil, horrible team, so of course they lost to them. Let's go Oilers. But anyways, so right now the answer to the question is this. Right now I'm playing a fantasy hockey game with all of my close friends and some relatives on a hockey team. And when I tell you, like, it's an entire team. Like you have to have 20 skaters dressed. Okay. So you have to have 18 skaters and 2 goalies. All right. 4 forward lines, 3 defensive lines. So that's your 18 skaters right there. And then 2 goalies. But then people get injured. So I have to, so I also have 4 additional skaters. I have an additional defenseman, or 2 additional defensemen, 2 additional forwards I've created. And it's just like all of my friends from LA.
We gotta get you home, Jake. We're getting you home.
Yeah.
We're getting you back to these people IRL.
My boy Tony from my movies. He's our goalie. He's a star goalie. He's got the most shutouts of the season of any other goalie
Naturally.
in the league. It's a lot. I will say the customization suite is great, but because it's hockey, there's never been the like you can morph the face and stuff. So you kind of just have to pick preconceived faces. So it's all like the people who have a very distinctive feature all look at the best. And so like
are that feature.
It's good for you because I'm like, oh great, only guy on the team with an orange goatee.
Yeah.
My cousin PJ who I've made in the game. He's got a big orange beard. He's also orange redhead. And then Paul Bianchi, who's a host of Myth Understood. He's the Dungeon Master over in DDW. He's got a big red beard as well, but it's different. Beard versus the goatee. Like you look at,
I stand out. Yeah.
You're also a little bit shorter. How tall are you, by the way? I need to make sure I got your height right.
I'm actually 5'9" in real life.
Okay, I made you a little bit shorter in the game. For some reason, I thought you were 5'8". You and my brother are the same height.
Okay, yeah. No, I'm 5'8" and 3/4. I do let that round up.
Yeah, no, I get it.
No, I count. If I was 5'8" and a half, I'd maybe go.
Like I said, guys,
like
he said earlier, he's a big guy. He thinks he's a big guy.
I'm a big guy. Well, we'll get you home to those people IRL, but I also just realized, my vinyl thing has become kind of my.
Oh yeah,
it's very tea ceremony. It's very like tactile.
I like tea ceremony. Yeah.
Yeah, like I open the vinyl, I look at the art, I like I press it. It's very like delicate, and it's also I'm really aggressively researching speakers. Like if my Amazon wish list went from being like a couple Blu-rays to like 17 kinds of Polk speakers. Fantastic. And like clips and like different vinyl players with different like needles of different material. Like I've researched vinyl so insanely. So I think I need a hobby that is as OCD as comic collecting, but that I haven't made into a public hobby.
And that you're not doing, other fellow Dragon Record podcaster, Matt Kessler, you're not doing too many records. You're not starting a YouTube fucking channel about it.
Right, I'm not commodifying that because I've commodified movies and comics. Like I very intentionally kept that to myself, but recently I didn't buy vinyl for 3 months because I had spent a lot in 4 months, and I was like, I'm gonna stop this hobby for a minute, make sure I'm not addicted to spending. Like I checked myself, but this month was the first month I bought vinyl, and I managed to get 2 incredible deals on Mercury. I was able to get the second pressing of Rage Against the Machine with the original what's it called? Analog pressing before the original was burned away at that big fire.
Yeah.
All the recent pressings are digital, which defeats the purpose of actually having vinyl at all. But I got a second pressing for $18.
Wow.
That thing goes for like $900.
It's a good deal.
And I got a 9 Inch Nails gray smoke version of the vinyl of their greatest hits while I wait to find a good MTV Unplugged from their analog pressing. So I've been like, I like the garage sale crate diving, and sometimes even digitally that quelches that if I can find a deal like this. So Black Friday is my favorite holiday, you guys. I'm a big sucker for deals. I'm real happy just vinyl hunting. So I guess that's the answer. I unplug by plugging in my vinyl player.
There you go. By the way, 14 goals, 13 assists for the season, 12 penalty minutes you've got so far.
That seems like me. Yeah, that's fair.
62 games though. Not bad.
Playing a lot.
It's
That's
March.
less rage than I'd expect.
March.
All
right, let's see what else we got in the hotline.
Hello again, Coy and Jake. This is Doug from Pittsburgh, or Darth Vadad on the Dragon Wagon Discord. First, I'd like to doubly congratulate the newlywed Gil this month's unpunchable gift horse. It couldn't happen to a more super guy. Now hang on to something because the 180 I'm about to do could give you a case of vertigo. I'm sitting here on Father's Day before my teenage girls get out of bed and thinking about dads. My wife's father is quickly and also slowly dying in Florida of a bad prostate cancer, so I'm trying to downplay the day here. Personally, before I was a dad, Father's Day didn't mean that much to me. My parents divorced when I was in first grade, and I saw my deadbeat dad very little after that. It's probably why I was so focused on being a good husband and father. So here's my question. Who are your favorite replacement father figures from comics? Off the top of my head, I can think of several, such as Alfred Pennyworth, Jonathan Kent, Charles Xavier, Cable, or Ben Parker. As a mostly single-parent kid, I think I'd have to choose May Parker, who took over from both Peter's dad and Uncle Ben. Take care, and I hope you and most of your listeners got to enjoy a much better Father's Day.
Doug, a.k.a. Darth Vadad, all the best. Just really sorry to hear about your father-in-law. There seems to be quite a bit of that going around right now. I feel like I know a lot of people who are in this similar situation. We love you, bud. We're sending all our best that way.
Yeah, it's not easy to deal with. I love that you're finding positive elements to, juxtapose that, because that's, so hard to emotionally and mentally, physically deal with. So all the best and well wishes to yours.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, except I never became a dad, Doug. I also never had an attachment to the day. It was just sort of a reminder that I had a shit dad who wasn't around, and never really kind of gave it second thought. It was always like, all right, I text my godfather, who's my uncle, who's really important to me. He's probably like the primary, father figure to me growing up. I try to see him if I can, but when I was young, it's not like, my mom was like, let's go and see Uncle Paul for Father's Day. So it's not like I did things with him on Father's Day. He has his own kids and, so yeah, I never really had any connection to the day, and I still don't. Every year I make some dumb joke online about how Dick Van Dyke and Billy Crystal raised me, and that's pretty much kind of where it ends for me. But I like his question about like replacement parents in comic books. I agree with you 100%. In Ben Parker, that's
what
like
a father figure.
That's a given. I think as a kid, I feel like Xavier probably. Like,
I like that one.
Right? That's got to be as a kid, because I think as a kid I read more X-Men comics than other titles, and he is definitely that like constant, the voice of reason, and and I think that as an adult you see more the duality of like how it's a complex, his goals and everything he seeks for is a little bit more complex than it's not all shades of gray, no pun intended. But as a kid, that's just like, yeah, I want a guy to just adopt me and to let me live in a mansion, and then just like teach me how to deal with being the weirdo, because nobody in my family knows how to deal with me being a weirdo. Like, yeah. I feel like Xavier's got to be at the very top of the list for me.
I love the Pa Kent choice personally. I didn't read as much Superman as I did, Spider-Man or X-Men, obviously, but I do love the nature of that paternal relationship. Like, I always liked that he was a voice of wisdom, that he felt like a father to Clark, and I think that's my relationship. Like, I did do a lot for Father's Day. I do love the day. Yeah. My biological dad was never much of a factor in my life, but my dad, technically stepdad, but I call him dad. My dad is like 70% of me. Like, my dad is so much of who I am. Like, he taught me to work out. He got me into comic books. He is the reason I have a crazy work ethic. I call my poppy my mom's dad. Like, my poppy helped raise me. He was on the pod once and said very few but always very funny words. Like, my poppy's such one of those guys that doesn't talk a lot, but when he does, I'm like, man, I wish I had that charm.
Right, sure.
I'm the opposite. I'm a volume guy, but like, he's such a big part of my work ethic and perseverance, and he's someone who dropped out of high school to raise his entire family.
Right.
He lost his father young, and he raised his brothers and sisters at like 15, and then married my grandma at like 17, and they started having kids at 18. He was raising his own family and his new family simultaneously while working 3 jobs and building his own business. And I was raised in that. So like, my poppy is a father to me. My dad is a father to me. My bio dad, I have nothing negative towards. I just wasn't raised by him. Right. So I think Pa Kent always resonated, because it's not like because
it's not
because he's a good man that raised him without any asterisks.
Because it was a choice.
Right. And it was as a son. Right. Like, Pa Kent is Superman's father. Right. And there was, and I don't have the Jor-El negativity of abandonment or what that choice he had to make. Right. But the Jor-El element is also a thing, because my bio dad could have made it harder for my mom. I could have had to share custody and had to deal. Like, he wasn't ready to be a dad, so he let me go, and I think that was an asset. So like, Jor-El's kind of that, off in the plane. So I've always kind of resonated with the Pa Kent even more than the Uncle Ben, because my bio dad didn't die like Richard Parker. He jettisoned me off in a rocket ship to New England. Like, I got jettisoned from the South.
Sure.
Where I was born in a hospital that overlooks the last Confederate capital of America. I was born in a hospital that had Confederate flags flying when I visited 2 years ago. I would not be this person if I wasn't jettisoned for redneck kryptonite. Like, I needed to leave Krypton. So I love my dad and I love Father's Day and I want kids. So I think the day means a lot to me, but I don't talk about it as much because it's such a weird thing to explain to people. Like, when I say dad, I don't mean the blood guy. Right. And people are always like, what do you mean your stepdad? I'm like, not at all. I'm like, no, I don't mean that. And to me, Pa Kent's that. Like, that's his dad.
Yeah.
That was very personal for me. Felt uncomfortable.
No,
glad you asked, though.
That's why I told you it was going to be that day. I got another one,
I just felt myself like getting squirrely. And I was like, let me asterisk here.
I got another one that I don't know if you feel the same way. And it's silly, but you asked for true like surrogates. I got to be honest with you. When I was really little, fucking Splinter, man.
Oh, love it. Love that.
Like, Splinter is everything you want. Like, he's willing to crack a joke with you, but also, like, he's not gonna let your own bullshit get in the way of yourself. Yet simultaneously, he's gonna embrace what makes you who you are. I'm getting emotional thinking about Splinter right now. You guys.
That's fucking great. Good call, man. Good call.
But yeah, that's a great question. Once again, we love you, Doug. I almost call him Dad. Darth Vadad. We love you, Darth Vadad.
Dad. I mean, the guy. It's Darth Vadad Day.
I do like the fact that he's like, yeah, I never really gave it any thought until I became a dad. Not only did you become a dad, you literally made it your moniker. Like,
I was gonna say, I love that Vadad asked this question. He's Koicast's Vadad for sure.
Let's all just say collective. Happy Father's Day, specifically to you, Doug. Specifically to you, Darth Vadad, for being the fantastic, a beacon of daditude,
yes,
for all of Koicast.
I also want to add one more before we go because I just thought of a good one. Stick in Daredevil's world.
I mean, it's who he's
But I love that his dad, like, fighting Jack Murdoch, was still a factor. I like when a surrogate father is a surrogate father when the father figure is still a factor. Like, the turtles don't know their parents. That's why I'm adding a little,
two sides of the same coin too. Yeah.
Stick is like Splinter. It's a bigger staff, like, because there's the father element with fighting Jack. So I've always thought Stick was a fun, like, he was the harsh side of what Matt needed, raised in that environment. And yeah, happy Darth Father's Day, Darth Vader.
Darth Vadad's Day. All right, we are going along, but I do want to take one more hotline call because it's a new caller. And it's sort of a butt-in on the conversation we've been having for a few weeks here. So let's take this one last call here.
Hey guys, this is Tommy from DC, first time caller. I know you guys are going to move on from the movie theater talk, and I can talk about this for days, but I wanted to share some of my thoughts on this topic. Others hit on the fact that tickets are expensive and being with others in the theater can be annoying, but for me, the number one thing is the audio and visual quality of theaters. 4K TVs and sound systems have become more common and affordable over the years. The worst feeling is going to a movie theater and realizing that either the sound or video quality is worse than what you get at home. My biggest gripe is the inconsistency of theater. So sometimes you feel the booming of the bass and the picture quality is crisp. Other times it's just not that. I had seen Multiverse of Madness and Super Mario Brothers in theaters, and it was grainy and the sound was so flat. I was upset that those were my first experiences with those movies. Sure, theaters are louder and larger than what you get at home, and what I have at home is not top of the line in any way, but if the physical act of watching the movie is lackluster, then the rest of the experience falls apart. At $20 a ticket, if the theater could guarantee high-quality technical experiences for all the seats in the theater, then I would consider going again. But why have a bad expensive first experience when you can wait and watch at home? I don't know if you guys have had similar experiences with that, or maybe I'm a snob about it, but I want to get your guys' thoughts. Thanks, guys.
Tommy from DC, first time caller. Thank you so much for calling. I know his line broke up a little bit in the beginning there, but that was his name. Tommy from DC, I believe. If I'm wrong about that, please correct me, Tommy. But yeah, we didn't even touch on this. We had 2 entire episodes about the theater experience. And
that's totally a factor.
We did not even touch on the fact that the theater experience, the experience of the movie, is sometimes kind of inconsistent. This is an instance where, fuck, do I miss the arc light? Never had a bad showing. Never sounded bad. Never nothing. But I've been to AMC's. I remember when we went to go see Annihilation, there was a fucking like horizontal line just on the screen. That was like, that changed the color of the projection. And when the screen and I saw it, I was like, it's fucking annoying. And then when the movie ended and it turned off, I could see it, and I'm realizing, oh, it's literally on. Close this
the
theater.
physical screen.
Yeah,
wow.
don't like why. And it was so distracting for the entire movie. But yeah, there's obviously sometimes the sound is just shit, or it's not loud enough. But it's like, if I am in a theater, I want that fucking shit cranking.
I also like his point about, and I meant to mention it last time I recorded, the cost of home theater getting cheaper exponentially every year.
Totally.
You can get a good TV you can get a great TV for $1,000. You can get a good TV for like $400. And like that's
I'm gonna say
insane.
better than that even. I'm gonna say you can get a great. I'm gonna say you can get a Gate 3D for $250 nowadays. Like,
so yeah, that's a few.
If we're talking about like literally just having like a high quality monitor or something that like actually looks really, really good, that has good controls, has good color controls, and then shit, you could get an old 7.1 surround system that comes complete in a box for $200 for $199. I'm not saying they're going to be like the best speakers you've ever had, but it's still going to sound fantastic. It's still going to sound a lot better than the native stereo TV that you've got.
Oh,
like,
100%. And so we're talking like $500 and you've got a home theater.
You have a theater, exactly.
I would argue my experience with movies is more good than bad. But if your experience is like Jake's and it's more bad than good or even equal, why would you risk spending $20 if you could risk 40 of those $20 to get your own at home and like know it was yours? So that is 100% a factor. And I did not mean to diminish that in the last couple episodes of discussion. That said,
we just forgot about it. We didn't diminish nothing. We just ignored it. Yeah, I forgot.
That said, the last couple weeks, and I'm glad you brought this up because there has been a shift. Bad Boys did exceptionally. It broke records and it exceeded expectations. And then Inside Out is literally the highest opening for an animated film of all time.
Wow.
So I am still worried about movie theaters because that's my nature and I love them. I love them so much. Even two good things to juxtapose three bad ones is not going to be like, we're back. Right. I'm not going to be like every time there's one good Marvel property, everyone wants to like, we're back. And then the next week they want to be like Marvel shills.
Right.
It's just like the nature of the swing back and forth. But the fact that a comedy that is a 90s-tastic franchise did that well, followed by a Pixar movie when Pixar's had a bunch of fumbles box office-wise, I think the movie's been great. I love Soul. But the fact that the audience came out in droves before Deadpool, and now you guys know, I'm not speaking ill of Deadpool here. I was afraid Deadpool was going to be our summer kickoff, and that is not acceptable the weekend leading up to August.
Right.
It would not have been like, we would have looked at our box office and been like,
not a rest of the country summer.
Yeah, like you guys are off for school. I'm so glad Bad Boys did exceeding numbers, and it's already in a profit, and it's only been out 2 weeks.
But
Pixar is in a profit.
But
two pre-existing IPs.
100%. Yeah, no. The studios are now not going to make new, like Furiosa not doing well, even though that's an IP. It's still a weird ass IP. That not doing well is a bad sign. Fall Guy not doing well is really detrimental to original ideas. I know it's based off a show, but no one knew that. Yeah. It's not a good sign for non-Pixar, non-fourth movie in franchises going forward. And when Deadpool does really well, it's going to help R-rated comic movies exceptionally because the next big movie after Deadpool is an R-rated superhero movie called Joker 2. When those two back-to-back do well, it's going to show the studios, hey, we've been doing superhero movies for 18 years. Maybe give us some R-rated ones. That's going to help Blade. That's going to help Midnight Suns. But I hope to God it doesn't help Spider-Man become rated R. I hope it doesn't do a pendulum swing where suits are like, people only want adult content and let's blah, blah, blah. Like, it's a really messy time because the swings are so big. The fact that Fall Guy did so bad and Pixar did so good.
God, you know who would love that? Zack Snyder. He'd be like, finally!
You my people. And like, maybe that is what happens and we get more of that.
Hey, who was that guy who made Batman say bullshit once or whatever the fuck dumb stuff?
Yeah, like let's call him in. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting, but I definitely love that you brought up those points that I forgot to mention.
Yeah, totally.
They are absolutely factors.
Man, that's one thing that Alexandra and I, like, having been in not our own spaces for now going almost to 8 months. It's going to be an entire year that we've been gone, right? That's going to be the time we left in September. We're going to be returning in September.
That's crazy.
Not having a space that is like our own space for a year. We might not have a podcast studio back in we might be back in the living room because if we have an extra room, that bitch is a theater. I am fucking done not having I'm so desperate because none of the people that we've been with give two shits about the
motion
filmmaking,
smoothing and
watching,
shit. Like everything's VHS.
Or not even that. It's just like placement, like comfort, not having like a TV that's everything is sort of like it's an afterthought where I'm like, no, I'm a fucking movie nerd. I want the experience. I am so excited to just have like high quality shit to unpack my surround sound system that's in a storage unit in fucking Burbank right now.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right. Well, that'll do it for the program. Before we get out of here, Coy Gendreau, we must tell the kids all about the Patreon. If you don't know, great way to support this program and keep us and our feelings intact. This is a very feeling-centric episode.
Yeah, this episode of The Feels will not be carrying on to the Patreon, where we review stuff cold-bloodedly. No, I
can't promise
we talk
that.
about... Yeah, that's true. It might get emotional. But we talk about everything over in the Patreon. We review movies. We review shows. We've reviewed albums. We've reviewed plays. It's a place for us to discuss art for the art, and it's every week. So if you like this show and have felt like, man, I wish I had more of that, Patreon is very, very reasonably priced. We don't want to be a show that exists on the backs of our 3 wealthiest patrons. It is a show that we really pride ourselves on making very attainable, and the volume we've put out. It is at 180 some episodes, and we record about 40 minutes or
try
longer.
190. We're at this
190.
week. This week is POP 194. We're coming up on the 200th POP. We should do something special.
We got to do something special. That's exciting. That's insane. A lot of shows, it's funny when I see the statistics of like the average podcast doesn't last a year. If you make it to a year and a half, you're in the top 5%. Bitches, we're at 200 of our patron pod, and we're at year fucking 4.5 of this show. That said, there's also a gift horse level wherein you can help us pick what we watch. Once a month, we crown a gift horse. And not only do they get their name in lights, not only do they get announced on this very program, but they decide what one of our picks for the month is going to be, and we review a ton of other stuff in that episode. So if you want to support the show, it's only a couple bucks. It's only a couple bucks more to become a gift horse, and you also get merch. So check out koicast.com because we got shirts, we got mugs, we got all sorts of goodness over there that I'm very proud of.
I also want to say the next episode of the podcast is the first episode of July. And so in the next episode, we will be selecting our unpunchable gift horse of the month for July. So become a gift horse tier patron today if you'd like to be in that drawing. We always record on the Mondays, just a little heads up, even though it airs on the Wednesdays. So pretty much we're recording on July 1st. So get in the patron before July and you'll be entered into that contest for the next episode.
Also to our Ride or Dies Letterboxd episode coming up. We're going into July, so we'll be talking all about our stats.
Oh, yeah.
I personally love that episode dearly. So check out the Patreon.
Lifetime.
Check out
Lifetime stats this time.
Lifetime stats, because we do our full year at the end of the year. Lifetime stats is going to be crazy because I got real sick in May and I watched a lot of stuff. But yeah, that is going to do it for this episode of our very emotionally driven, celebrating engagement. And
I think I'm going to call this the feelings episode.
Oh, we're caught in them feels.
The feelings.
So I like that, and it ties into Inside Out 2 doing so well. Well, that is going to do it, you lovelies.
See, you can't even just accept that like we had a nice conversation without being like, but how do I businessify it? Can I
make this about pop culture, Jake?
I need corporate synergy because I am Robot Puppet.
I'm wondering if I can commodify this in some way for very viral purposes. I hate it. You know what?
I love you and I hate you all at the same time.
That's fair. I feel the same way. All right, much love, listeners. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And thank you, as always, to Comic Books for existing. We'll see you patrons next week, this week, and going forward. And we'll see you KoiCast listeners in 2 weeks. I appreciate all of you. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
If you're enjoying this podcast or any podcasts on the Dragon Wagon Radio Network, be sure to check out the Dragon Wagon shop. You can tout your podcast pride while supporting your favorite indie podcast network. Make sure to check it often for new items and limited time designs. So shop now at dragonwagonshop.com. Get your dragon swag on.
It's Dragon Wagon.